Well, I just want to take the time to tell you thank you for joining us for the Connected Church Collective. This training session, we're going to talk about the basics. So, this is going to be a session that will be focused more towards the beginner and those as it relates to social media usage in the intermediate level. So, we're going to get straight to it. Launching for the Most Connected Sunday, the comprehensive study for innovation and for growth. Going live. Everyone is doing it. The real question is, should you be doing it? Should you be going live? If you have the technology to produce a quality product, but not necessarily quality, but polished, I say go ahead and do it. There are going to be some people who are tuning in who are going to believe that, you know what, people really don't care about the quality. I'm just going to go live just like I've been doing. I'm going to hold my phone and I'm going to look at it and I'm going live. And I'm going to tell you, you know what? That's perfectly fine too. I've done research as it relates to how the brain transcodes information from a computer screen, and I'm going to say you're going to have an audience of people who are going to tell you it really doesn't matter what a production looks like. They just want the information. So again, if that's you, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just going to go about it from a more of an aspect that relates more directly to innovation and how to make what you have now better. Right now, I'm going to talk about going live. And I know some people are going to just go live, and some people are going to agree with me about going live privately. You're going to have to ask yourself what's more important. Do I want numbers? Do I want viewers? Do I want likes? If that's going to be your priority and your end game, then as I go on with this training, you're going to see that I'm going to have some tools for you. If you're going to say that I want to just focus more so on my members, if that's going to be the angle that you're going to go from, then if that's what matters most, I'm going to share some things for you too. There's going to be a group of pastors, a group of marketers, a group of friends who are going to say, you know what, Melanie, I want it all. I want my members, I want the numbers, and I want everyone else's members. If that's you, then it's great. Hey, I have something for you too. Again, as going through on this slide, some people want it all, the numbers, the members, and everyone else's. If that is you, all I'm going to ask you is this. If you do want it all, and if this is your end goal, have you polished the product? Are you willing to spend time to polish it? And are you willing to spend the money to polish the product? Going live for my members. Does your church, if that's something that you want to do, if you're just focused on going live for your members, it doesn't matter if you're one of those people who just want to go live for their members, if you're one of those people who wants to go live for the likes, if you're one of those people who want it all. I have to ask you this question first. Does your church actively maintain and manage a Facebook presence? And some people are going to say, well, what is active? Active is daily posting and direct engagement and an active following from your membership. Okay, so that's what's active. If you have an active Facebook page for your church, are you all posting daily? Do you respond directly to your members? And do you have an active following? Are they communicating directly with you? If not daily, then I definitely recommend you setting up a private group, because this will allow you some management control and a bit more flexibility as it relates to polishing the product of your new media delivery. One thing I want us to keep in mind as we're preparing to go live is that you also have to be prepared to be critiqued both directly and indirectly. Now, again, most pastors, you all are quite familiar with being critiqued. You understand what it is, but this is a different kind of engagement on social media. So I want us to be familiar with this. I also want us to know that even though we might be going live, and whether or not it's a private group or not, I want us also to keep in the back of our minds how we go about approaching giving on social media. Going about it is giving on social media is a little bit different than it is as it relates to going at it through the four walls of the church, which is why I'm giving you all an opportunity and an option, and I'm touching on this. Until you get this process polished, it might be in your best interest to go about your launch on tomorrow in a private group for members. It might not be the option you might view as favorable, but that's okay. Again, my job is to provide you options to where you could understand it. A private group. What are the benefits of having a private group and launching my live through a private group? It's control. It's being able to understand that there are going to be some aspects of control that you're going to be able to have an opportunity to manage. And you're still going to be reaching your membership and those who are on social media. Your online presence is still going to be there. Your online presence is still going to be there. And it also gives you time to clean up your live. Remember, some ministries have been ahead of the curve for a while now. And so now we're going to have a whole lot of real estate of ministries and people who are going to be going live. And you want to establish what's going to set you apart from all of them from a marketing and ministry perspective. I want you to know what might not matter to others will matter to someone else. And so that's important as it relates to outreach. Okay, so if your church is not social, there's some things that I want you to know. If you go live from a page that isn't social, the way Facebook has algorithms, and this is a term that's normally used by mathematicians and scientists used to solve problems, but in Facebook language, algorithms relate to who sees your post. You will not see immediate impact. Again, I want you to know this. Don't be discouraged if you don't automatically see the numbers there. Just because the numbers aren't there in Facebook, it doesn't mean you don't have an impact. I want you to know this. Be patient. It will take time to build the audience, but if you build it, what do they say? If you build it, they will what? They will come. So I want you to know this. It's important for you to stay focused and focus on your local church first, and then be willing to expand as it relates to outreach later. If your church is not social, you have four options. You could either get that page active. Either you can manage it as the pastor and our leader, or you can get a volunteer to manage it for you. You can create a page yourself. It doesn't take an expert to create a page for you, or you can create a group. The final option is the pastor can go live from his personal Facebook. In all of these options, creation has to happen at some point. Make sure that creation happens from the aspect of someone who you know and trust. Again, remember, your Facebook presence is your identity and your brand, and you want to make sure that as a ministry, as a church leader, or as a pastor, that you have some control over that. And it's important because the people who manage your space have to know your vision to be able to carry it out as a pastor or a leader. If you're a leader, then you're falling directly under the vision of your pastor, and you want to make sure that you're following through and doing your part. Pastor's personal Facebook. That last option that I touched on, rather says, hey, you can go live from your pastor's personal Facebook page. Well, that's if he is active, and that is if he understands all that's at stake And sometimes we don't understand, but it's very hard to separate our personal identity versus our professional identity. So if a pastor's Facebook page has always been only ministry, for the most part, this isn't a bad thing. But if they have opinions, if they actually work in the workforce, these are things that matter and could play a role in whether or not you're going to launch your Facebook Live from pastor's sites. I'm going to touch on this. It's going to be really, I could go on and on about this because there's so many issues as it relates to intellectual property, and it might be of importance for some people. And later on, we're going to talk about intellectual property. So again, I don't want to get into it too much in this session, but it matters to a lot of people. So if pastor is active and you're one of those people who want it all and you have a quality product, and or you might be one of those people who say, I'm just going live with what I have, then go for the gusto, but tread lightly. Okay, I want you to know this. Tread lightly, because there's so many things that could go wrong. But guess what? The one thing could go right is that you could reach somebody. And I don't want us to lose sight of that. There are some legal concerns that often I have to deal with as it relates to ministries and how we're going to go about doing this. But there are some legal concerns. And the first one is intellectual property. I often get that question: who owns the message? How will I be compensated? Or how will the ministry be compensated, especially if we sell media? Those are going to be some topics that, again, as I mentioned, I'm going to touch on another session. I want us to be focused on going live, and I don't want us to be hindered by the legals, because this is something that you'll be able to modify as you learn, go, and grow. So how will the ministry be compensated, being that we sell multimedia? You won't be compensated going live. I'm just going to tell you that. And but after you do go live, if you all do continue to sell multimedia, you can remove that live video from Facebook. All right. So that's important for you to know. And then you could upload this media back up and or burn a copy to where that vehicle, that outlet is still allowed, especially for your members who are not as savvy as it relates to Facebook and technology. You're going to have a demographic of members who are not going to understand that. Next thing we're going to talk about is who owns what. And that's, again, as I mentioned, that is going to be another training. We are now currently in an emergency, and we're currently in a state of emergency. If you don't have that lined out in your contract, just note that this just needs to be used as a temporary resource. Again, we're trying to get the word out to the masses, and we're trying to prepare you for that. I'm not trying to scare you away, but again, this is something that you can talk to with your board of directors and attorneys and those people who handle the business of ministry. Because oftentimes most people, the common person does not understand that. So again, I want you to know, you need to make sure you know that if this is what you desire, then it needs to be a temporary resource. Music, that's another big concern. If you notice, if you tune into Facebook and you've watched Facebook Live, you've seen that a lot of mega ministries already actually go live full length of their service. But I want you to know this, that most of them have already signed a CCLI license. And what is CCLI? It is a license that permits the fair and legal use to copy and distribute content and media. I want you to think about it like this. What's happening in the music industry right now is that most musicians, singers, and songwriters are out of work. Some things that have been allowed to happen on Facebook prior to this particular Sunday might have gotten beyond, being flagged. But now you're going to have a potential singer or songwriter that's going to say, hey, I'm not getting paid right now. I need all of the money that I can get, and I need to be able to get that income. I need to state a claim on the income that I'm used to receiving. So I want us to know this, that if your ministry and or church has not signed a CCLI, you have two options. You can either go live singing just like you've normally done, or you can sign that CCLI license/waiver, and you should be covered. I don't think you're honestly going to have the time to do it today. But until then, I'm going to say, hey, you might want to sing songs that are of original content to your ministry. Now, I'm going to also tell y'all this. I've been doing a lot of research as it relates to Facebook and churches and preparing for this coming Sunday. Do not be surprised that even if you have original content that you're singing and playing, that you might get flagged. It is potential because, again, Facebook they do not have a way right now. They are not a distribution company. They don't necessarily have a way of being able to identify music that you own versus music that an artist might own. So as a liability protection for them, they might automatically just mute your service. So don't be surprised. I just want you to know that it's something that you might want to consider as it relates to making sure you're doing your part to protecting your ministry and your page, as well as your current Facebook following. I also want you to think about something. Where do you currently have all of your new media, video, and audio? Is it just on Facebook? Is it just on YouTube? Is it just on Instagram? If these are your locations in the future, I definitely recommend you change them. But we'll talk about that in another session. But let me say this. Just let's have a moment where we think, what if all of your social media gets flagged? How will the people of your ministry have access? How will the people of your ministry have access if everything gets flagged? What do you need to go live? I'm going to just tell you this. You need a smart device, a tablet, and or a laptop. Those are the things you need to go live. You need a smart device, a tablet, and or a laptop. If you're using a smart device or tablet, please, if you don't have it now, if you do not have it now, I insist that you invest in a tripod. And if you don't have a tripod for this Sunday, please have someone who understands angles and who can hold still. That's going to be very important for you as it relates to polishing up your product for future use. If you're going to go live, these are some things that you need to know. If you're going to go live on Facebook, you should have a designated device for Facebook. That's one. If you're going to go live on Twitter, you should have a designated device for Twitter. And if you're going to go live on YouTube, you need at least 1,000 followers, y'all, to go live. There are other softwares out there. But again, I'm delivering this training session for a beginner and or an intermediate user. I want you to know this. You are functioning like no other ministry has ever had to function before. I don't want to say welcome to the Twilight Zone, but what I do want to say is this is equivalent to the first trip on the moon. We've never had to function under these conditions. I want you to do this. I want you to do what is best for you. And at the end of the day, communicate the word. Again, let me reiterate that. At the end of the day, communicate the word and reach your members as safely as possible. You are doing God's work. And remember, He has all of this under control. I want you to know that this group, we are going to work on this group as it relates to growing and continuing our comprehensive study for innovation and growth in the future. Again, we're going to work on this, and I want to continue to share valuable tools and resources for your ministry. So thank you so much.